it started is there were people coming to Mary for counselling, and she did it at the beginning, but as time went on, I think she was getting overwhelmed with the numbers of the people that were coming for counselling. So she realized that she needs people to help her with the counselling. And I think that is where the whole business started off. We have been like on a diploma level and for a very long period of time. The degree program has just started. The master's level, the same way, it has also just started. A good number of them come when they already working somewhere in communities, in hospitals, in churches, in religious people. It's a mix of so many people. In most cases, they're already working somewhere. Most of them, when they finish the course, they are either promoted, they are getting better jobs, they are placed in different departments where they can give better skills, so they are really putting in whatever they are getting to use.
People often say, what does Western psychology do in Africa? Well, we don't start off with Western psychology. Psychology, even in the West, is a very new science. But the basic questions of life and what makes people happy and what makes people miserable and why people behave in the way they do is as old as the human person. And so we don't start with Western psychology, we go back to that question. And we look at the question of what is and who is a person in African thought. And what is a happy person, or who is a real person, or who is a developed person. And how does that development occur? And then what are the blocks? And what makes, when do people say we're not okay? When do people say we're unhappy? Or how do they define unhappiness? How do they define sickness? How do they define mental illness? And then how do they go in African thinking and in African practice? How do you go from being unhealthy to being healthy again? And we then move from African thinking to Oriental, to Asian thinking. And I teach a lot of Buddhist psychology here. The thinking makes a lot of sense to me. And they seem to like it as well. But historically it seems to fit to go from African thinking to, Asian, Oriental ways of thinking about the person and about life into Western thinking. And then we go into European and Western thinking, into philosophy and religion and eventually psychology. And we basically go through a lot of theories with always the encouragement, throw it out. But you can't throw something out until you've seen it, met it, examined it, and found it wanting. So they examine these different ways of thinking about life, and thinking about the individual, and thinking about the family, and thinking about society, thinking about individual choice, thinking about responsibility, and thinking about destiny and about individual power, which are, pretty new concepts in a society where the power is always outside. If it's not in the clan, it's in the dead ancestors. And if it's not in the dead ancestors or in the clan, it's in some god. And if it, or in some government or some power, but it's usually out there somewhere. And it's a very disempowering philosophy with which to go through the whole of life. And I think my own transition into meeting my own self and coming in touch with my own power of choice was actually very transformative during my own studies. And I see it happening to my students. And I think without exception, if you were to go along and say to our students who come to us because they want another training, they want another job, they want more money, they want another profession, and they hear counselling is a good one, they come in with that. But I would think without exception, if you were to ask them a year and a half into it, why are you here? What are you getting out of it? They say, I am getting something for myself and my family out of this. I'm changing. And I'm changing towards my husband. I'm changing towards my wife. I'm changing towards my children. I'm changing in my workplace. I'm changing. And this is what they really find is the core of it. And one of the students said to me the other day, and she's just new in the program, she said, oh my God, I was so big-headed when I came into this program. I came and I thought I was going to change others and help others, and I was going to be a helper. She said, I just need to help myself. It's not that she became from being altruistic to being selfish, but she's waking up to the power of choice and the power of, being responsible, more responsible for your life.
Until now, I think there has been a big motivation. One, for me to go into the diploma level, it was mainly because I felt the certificate course had opened my eyes to look at myself and look at, other issues in a broader way. One thing is it helped me to grow as a person. I had a lot of issues growing up in an alcoholic family, and I thought that was normal. Then when we did this certificate course, some of the things were challenged that they were not normal. I couldn't understand that. And I felt like if this is really true, I want to discover more. It had aroused questions inside of me. It had answered a few, but aroused more. So those unanswered questions were the ones that sent me to the diploma program. And now when I learn about psychology, and I learn about human development, and I learn about different course units in the counseling, I'm able to see it in myself and see it in another person, and maybe be able to explain why that person behaves the way they do. At least it has an application to me outside the classroom, and that's the kind of learning that I like for myself. That's one of the things that has really motivated me into pursuing psychology.
And having been working with women who are living in abusive relationship, having been earlier on in such a relationships and having come out of it, I thought I had the natural strength to help other women, and somehow men found that it was important that I get the skills. And I said, why not? And it paid the dividends. The most motivating part of it is even to study neuroscience, where you are able to know what is going on in the brain, how these neurons are communicating to create behavior. And counseling is all about addressing behavior. And I think it is a very exciting course.
It happened to be at the time I was going through a crisis. I was very diagnosed with cancer of the breast. And I thought, at one time I started questioning about my existence, my life, and when she talked to me, I thought that was a an opportunity how to discover myself, to see what I can do for myself. In other words, to search for a meaning in my life.